Mackenzie Torres stopped screaming an hour ago. Her voice was gone, stolen by the blizzard and the knowledge that no one was coming. 6 feet away, Havoc's breathing came in shallow gasps, blood freezing black against white snow where the bullet had torn through his shoulder. The men who tied them here had smiled doing it. "You saw a dead man walking," one had said, checking the ropes a final time. "Problem is, dead men don't like witnesses." She'd photographed the helicopter crash, photographed Major Garrett, alive, moving, loading weapons, 2 years after his supposed death in Syria. Now the cold was finishing what bullets had started, and the proof would die with her. Unless someone found them first. Before we begin, we need you to do something important. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this story goes places you won't believe, and you'll want to see how it ends. Drop a comment telling us what city you're watching from. We love knowing how far these stories travel. Now let's begin. Connor Vale had stopped trusting silence 2 years ago. The kind of quiet pressing down on Teton Wilderness that February morning wasn't peace. It was the absence of something that should have been there. Birds didn't go silent for weather. They went silent for predators. He moved through snow that reached his shins, each step deliberate, each breath measured. 34 years old, and he still moved like a man expecting bullets. Some habits the Navy drilled so deep they became bone. The mission brief had been clean, simple, the kind of assignment they gave operators who needed easy wins after hard losses. A military helicopter had gone down during a routine training flight 72 hours prior. Weather had delayed recovery. Connor's job: locate the black box, secure it, get out. No contact expected, no complications anticipated. The coordinates led him into terrain that swallowed men whole. His handheld tracker chirped once, then went silent. Connor stopped, frowning. The signal had been steady for the last mile. Now nothing. He adjusted the frequency, swept the area again. Still nothing. But something else caught his attention, a pattern in the snow that didn't match wind or wildlife. Boot prints. Recent enough the edges hadn't softened. Military tread, winterized. Whoever made them knew what they were doing. Connor's pulse didn't speed up, it slowed. His training kicking in, turning his body into something that could think while it moved. He followed the prints 50 yards before he saw the rope. It lay half buried, stiff with ice, cut clean at one end. Synthetic fiber, professional grade. Then he saw the blood. Not much, just enough to paint a story in the snow. Something heavy dragged, something that fought back. The trail led deeper into the trees, and Connor followed it because 2 years ago he'd ignored a bad feeling and lost 5 men because of it. He wasn't ignoring anything anymore. The German Shepherd came into view first. Belgian Malinois. Connor corrected himself as he got closer. Big for the breed, maybe 70 pounds, dark coat matted with ice and blood. The dog was tied to a tree, rope cutting into fur, one foreleg hanging wrong. When it saw Connor, it didn't bark. It growled, low, placing what strength it had left between the stranger and the woman beside it. Connor stopped breathing. She was tied upright, head slumped forward, dark blonde hair frozen against her neck. Her ranger jacket hung open, torn where someone had ripped it. Her skin had gone the color of old snow. But her chest moved. Shallow, but there. "Jesus Christ," Connor whispered. The dog growled louder. Connor raised both hands, lowering himself slowly. "Easy. I'm not here to hurt her. I'm here to help." The dog's growl changed pitch, not softer, but different. Testing. Connor moved forward on his knees, speaking steady. "That's right. Good boy. Let me help her. He reached the ropes binding the dog first, cutting them with his knife in one smooth motion. The Malinois collapsed immediately, legs giving out, but crawled right back to the woman's feet, pressing his body against her boots like he could hold her up through will alone. Connor nodded once. Yeah, I get it. She's yours. He cut the ropes on her wrists. Her arms dropped forward, lifeless, and she sagged into him with a sound that was half breath, half sob. Connor caught her weight, lowering her to the ground as carefully as he could, already checking pulse, breathing, pupil response. Hypothermia. Advanced. Maybe past the point where shivering helped. He stripped off his outer jacket, wrapped it around her, pulled her against his chest to share body heat. The dog wheezed, crawling closer, and Connor didn't stop him. Whatever warmth they could give her, she needed. Her eyes fluttered, opened halfway, gray-green and sharp even through the haze. Stay with me, Connor said. What's your name? Her lips moved. No sound came out. It's okay, don't talk yet. Just stay awake. She tried again, and this time her voice came through, barely. Mackenzie. Mackenzie, good. I'm Connor. I'm getting you out of here. They're... Her breath caught. They're still here. Connor's jaw tightened. Who? The men who... She coughed, and it sounded like something tearing inside. The helicopter. I saw them. Everything in Connor went still. What helicopter? Crashed. 3 days ago. Her eyes focused on him with sudden intensity. They took something. Before the fire, 2 men. I photographed them. Connor's mind raced. The training exercise. The black box he was sent to recover. Where's your camera? Vest pocket. He reached carefully, found the small digital camera, checked the display. The last dozen photos showed exactly what she'd described. A downed helicopter. 2 men in unmarked tactical gear loading cases into a vehicle, and in the background, clear as day, a face Connor recognized. Major David Garrett, his former commanding officer, the man who'd sent Connor's team into an ambush 2 years ago in Syria. The man Connor had been told died in that same ambush. Son of a bitch, Connor breathed. Mackenzie's hand gripped his sleeve, weak but insistent. They saw me, came after me. Havoc tried. Her voice broke. They shot him, tied us up, said the cold would finish the job before anyone found us. Connor looked at the dog, who was watching him with amber eyes that held more awareness than pain. Havoc. That's his name? My partner. 3 years. Tears cut tracks through the dirt on her face. He won't leave me. No, Connor said quietly. He won't. He made the decision in seconds. His cabin was too far, but there was another option. The old fire lookout tower, maybe 2 miles east, abandoned for years, but the structure was sound. Shelter from the wind, defensible position. He secured Mackenzie against his chest with rope and straps, creating a makeshift carrier that kept her airway clear. Havoc tried to stand, failed twice, then managed it on the 3rd attempt. 3 legs working, 1 dragging. But he moved. Good boy, Connor said. Stay close. They moved through snow that tried to stop them at every step. Connor's shoulders burned, his lungs ached. Mackenzie drifted in and out, mumbling things he couldn't quite hear. Twice she said a name, Mom, and once she said, I'm sorry. Halfway there, she came back to herself more fully, her voice stronger, but carrying weight. I was a Marine, she said suddenly. Military police. Did 2 tours. Connor adjusted his grip, kept walking. "Why'd you leave?" "PTSD." No shame in how she said it, just fact. "Got bad after my mom died. I was deployed when it happened. Car accident. Didn't find out until 3 days later." "I'm sorry." "She worked on a military base. Contractor. Accounting." Mackenzie's breath caught. She found something. Irregularities in the records. Reported it. Week later, she's dead. Connor's jaw tightened. "You think someone killed her?" "I know someone did. Spent 3 years tracking weapons movements through wilderness corridors, building a case." Her hand gripped his jacket. "That helicopter wasn't training exercise. It was weapons transport. And I have proof." "Where?" "My ranger station. Hidden. They don't know about it yet." Connor's mind worked through the implications. If Garrett was alive, if he was running weapons, if Mackenzie's mother had discovered part of it. "My team," Connor said, voice hard. 2 years ago, Syria. We walked into an ambush. 5 men died. I was the only one who made it out. Mackenzie went still. "Who gave the orders?" "Major David Garrett." Connor's voice carried 2 years of grief. "He was supposed to die in that ambush with us. That's what I was told." "But he didn't." "No. He's in your photographs." The silence between them held a different quality now. Shared understanding. Shared rage. "They killed my mom," Mackenzie said. "They killed your team. And they left me to die because I saw too much." "Yeah." "What are you going to do about it?" Connor's answer was immediate. "Everything." Havoc made a sound, low and urgent. Connor stopped, listening. At first, nothing. Then, faint but distinct, the mechanical whine of a drone. "Move," Connor said, and started running. The fire lookout tower emerged from the white like something forgotten by time. 50 feet tall, wooden structure weathered gray, ladder leading up to an enclosed cabin at the top. Connor hit the base at full speed, practically threw himself up the ladder with Mackenzie still strapped to his chest. Havoc couldn't climb. Connor set Mackenzie down inside the cabin, looked back. The dog stood at the base of the tower, looking up, body trembling. "Connor," Mackenzie said weakly. "Please." He went back down, took the stairs 2 at a time, and scooped Havoc up as carefully as he could. The dog whimpered, but didn't struggle. 70 pounds of injured Malinois was dead weight, but Connor had carried heavier. He made it back up, got them both inside, barred the door. The cabin was small, single room, windows on all sides, old radio equipment in the corner. Dusty but dry. Connor laid Mackenzie on the floor, propped her against the wall, wrapped her in every piece of spare clothing he had. Havoc collapsed beside her, pressing close. Connor moved to the window, scanning the tree line. That's when he saw them. Footprints. Fresh. Circling the tower. Someone had been here, recently, and judging by the pattern, they'd waited. Watched, then left. Connor's blood went cold. "We're not alone," he said quietly. Mackenzie's eyes opened. "What?" "Someone was here. Maybe still is." "The black box. They're looking for it too." Connor pulled the device from his pack, turned it over in his hands. Standard military grade, encrypted, impact resistant. Whatever data it held, people were willing to kill for it. "I need to see what's on this," he said. "And I need to get to my evidence." Connor looked at her. Pale, injured, hypothermic. Looking at him with eyes that wouldn't quit. He recognized that look. He'd worn it himself for 2 years. "You can barely walk." "Then you'll have to help me." Despite everything, Connor almost smiled. You always this stubborn? Only when people try to kill me. Havoc lifted his head, ears swiveling. A second later, Connor heard it too. Footsteps crunching through snow. Multiple people, moving with tactical precision. Connor moved to the window, staying low. 4 figures approaching from the north, 2 more from the west. All armed, all moving like professionals. How many rounds you got? Mackenzie asked. Connor checked his magazines. 46. I've got 12 in my service weapon, if they didn't take it. She patted her hip, found the holster still there. 48? 58 total. Against 6. Bad odds. Yeah. They looked at each other. Something passed between them. Not hope. Something harder. Something that had survived when everything else burned. My mom's last words, Mackenzie said quietly, were trust the quiet ones. She meant soldiers like you. The ones who didn't need to prove anything. The ones who just did the job. Connor swallowed hard. My team, before they died, we made a promise. If anything happened, whoever survived would get the truth out, no matter what. Then I guess we both have promises to keep. Yeah. Outside, the footsteps stopped. For a moment, nothing. Just wind, just snow, just the sound of 2 damaged people trying to breathe. Then a voice cut through the cold. Male, calm, familiar. Lieutenant Vale, I know you're in there, and I know you have something that belongs to me. Connor's entire body went rigid. He knew that voice, had taken orders from it for 3 years, had trusted it with his life. Major David Garrett. I also know, Garrett continued, that you have the Ranger, Mackenzie Torres, former Marine, now a problem that needs solving. Mackenzie's hand found Connor's wrist. Her grip was weak, but her eyes were fire. We have a lot to talk about, Lieutenant. You, me, and the question of what really happened to your team in Syria. Garrett's voice carried weight. Come out. Let's settle this like professionals. Connor moved to the window, keeping to the side. You're supposed to be dead. Disappointed? Confused. War is complicated, son. Sometimes the good guys have to make hard choices. Like killing 5 SEALs? The pause was just long enough to confirm everything. Like eliminating witnesses who couldn't be trusted to keep quiet. Mackenzie's breath caught. Connor felt his world narrow to a single point of clarity. My team, he said, voice like gravel. You sent them to die. I sent them to do their duty. Not my fault they asked the wrong questions. What questions? Same ones that little Ranger started asking. Same ones her mother asked before her. Some people just can't leave well enough alone. Connor's hand tightened on his weapon. You killed her mother. Car accidents happen, Lieutenant, especially to people who don't understand how the world really works. Garrett's voice hardened. Now, you have 2 minutes to come out. Bring the black box. Bring the girl. We'll make it quick. Professional. The dog, too. No suffering. And if I don't? Then we burn the tower with you in it. Either way, no one finds evidence. No one asks questions. And you 3 become just another tragedy in a dangerous wilderness. The line went dead. Connor looked at Mackenzie. She looked back. Havoc lifted his head, sensing the change in air. 2 minutes, Connor said. Mackenzie's jaw set. Then we better figure out how to make them count. Connor's mind shifted into the mode that had kept him alive through 17 combat deployments. He assessed, calculated, planned. Radio in the corner. Might still work. Worth a shot. He crossed to the old equipment, powered it up. Static, then a faint carrier signal. He switched to emergency frequency, keyed the mic. "This is Lieutenant Connor Vale, Navy SEAL Team 5, requesting immediate assistance. Fire Lookout Tower, Teton Wilderness, coordinates..." He rattled them off from memory. 6 hostiles, weapons hot, civilians in danger. Repeat, civilians in danger. No response. Just static. Connor tried again. Same result. "They're jamming us," Mackenzie said. "Yeah." She pulled herself to her knees, crawled to the window. "Equipment shed at the base, southeast corner. Has flares. If you can get to them, they'll see me coming. Then I'll give you cover." Connor looked at her. Really looked. She could barely hold herself upright. Her hands shook. Her skin was still too pale, but her eyes hadn't wavered once. "You're in no condition. I'm a Marine, Connor. And these people killed my mother." She checked her weapon, chambered around. "I'm in exactly the right condition." Havoc struggled to his feet, positioning himself between Mackenzie and the door. Even injured, even exhausted, he knew his job. Connor felt something crack open in his chest. Something that had been frozen since Syria. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay. On my signal." He moved to the door, hand on the handle. Looked back once. Mackenzie met his eyes. "For your team. For your mom. For everyone they've killed." Connor nodded, took a breath, threw open the door, and dropped through the hatch to the ladder below. Gunfire erupted immediately. Rounds punched through wood. Mackenzie returned fire, controlled bursts, forcing the shooters to take cover. Connor hit the ground running, snow exploding around him, lungs burning, every instinct screaming that he was exposed, vulnerable, dead. He reached the shed, wrenched the door open, found the flares. More gunfire, closer. He could hear Garrett's voice shouting commands, could hear Mackenzie firing back, spacing her shots, making every round count. Then he heard something else. Havoc barking. Not the warning growl from before, the attack bark, the sound of a protection dog doing what he was trained to do. Connor's head snapped up. Through the snow, he saw movement at the tower's base. 2 men climbing. Mackenzie couldn't see them from her angle, couldn't defend herself. Connor made a choice. He left the flares, started running back, fired as he moved, dropping one climber, then the second. But more were coming. Too many. This wasn't a standoff. It was an execution, delayed. He made it back inside, slammed the hatch, barred it, looked at Mackenzie. She was on the floor, clutching Havoc, blood on her hands. Not hers, the dog's. Havoc had torn out his stitches trying to defend her. The foreleg wound was open again, bleeding freely. "Connor," she said, and her voice finally broke. "I can't. He won't." Connor dropped beside them, pressed his hands to the wound. "Stay with me, boy. Stay with me." Havoc's eyes found his, held, trusting. Outside, Garrett's voice returned. "Last chance, Lieutenant." Connor looked at the black box, looked at Mackenzie, looked at Havoc. 2 years ago, he'd made the wrong choice, followed orders, lost everyone. Not again. He grabbed the radio, switched to open military frequency, and did the one thing that would burn every bridge he had left. "This is Lieutenant Connor Vale. I'm broadcasting to any unit in range. Major David Garrett is alive and operating a weapons trafficking network. He orchestrated the Syria ambush that killed SEAL Team 5. He murdered contractor Sarah Torres and attempted to murder her daughter, Park Ranger Mackenzie Torres. Evidence is contained in recovered black box from downed helicopter, Teton Wilderness. Current coordinates follow. Garrett has 6 hostiles attempting to eliminate witnesses. If you're hearing this, we need immediate backup. And if we don't make it... His voice hardened. Someone finish what we started. He released the mic. Silence. Then, faint through the static, a response. Vale, this is Naval Intelligence Command. We copy. Stand by. Extraction inbound. ETA, 30 minutes. Connor's breath left him in a rush. Mackenzie laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. You just ended your career. Yeah. Was it worth it? Connor looked at her, at Havoc, at the blood and the snow and the impossible situation they'd survived this far. Ask me in 30 minutes. Outside, the gunfire stopped. Garrett's voice carried new weight, new rage. You stupid son of a bitch. You have no idea what you just did. Connor moved to the window. I got the truth out. That's all that matters. The truth? Garrett laughed, cold and bitter. You think you're the hero here? Your team died because they couldn't follow simple orders. Her mother died because she couldn't mind her own business. And you're going to die because you're too goddamn naive to understand how the world works. Maybe, Connor said. But I'm dying with a clean conscience. Can you say the same? The response came as a burst of automatic fire that shredded the tower's walls. Connor dropped, covering Mackenzie and Havoc with his body. Wood splinters rained down. The whole structure shuddered. Then, distant but growing, a sound that changed everything. Helicopter rotors. Not one, multiple. Connor risked a look out the window. Through the snow, he could see figures retreating into the trees. Garrett's voice shouting orders. The tactical unit breaking formation, scattering. The helicopters came in fast and low. Military birds. Real ones. Connor could see the markings even through the storm. Naval intelligence. Federal agents. A whole damn cavalry. Within minutes, the clearing was secure. Agents in winter gear were everywhere, securing perimeter, tracking runners, setting up command. A medic team hit the tower at full speed. Connor let them take over, let them stabilize Mackenzie, treat Havoc, ask questions he answered on autopilot. His mind was somewhere else, somewhere dark and final. He'd done it. Burned everything. Exposed the corruption. Honored his team's memory. And destroyed his career in the process. A man in unmarked tactical gear appeared at the hatch, mid-50s, gray at the temples, eyes that had seen things. Lieutenant Vale? Yeah. Commander William Cross, Naval Intelligence. He looked at Mackenzie, then Havoc, then back at Connor. Hell of a mess you've made. Sir, we've been investigating Garrett for 8 months. Never had enough evidence to move. You just handed us everything we needed. Cross's expression didn't change. You also violated about 14 protocols, breached operational security, and broadcast classified information over open channels. Connor stood at attention despite exhaustion. Yes, sir. You're looking at court-martial, possible discharge. Definitely a lot of very angry people asking very hard questions. I understand, sir. Cross was quiet for a long moment. Then, your team, Syria. They deserved better. Connor's throat tightened. Yes, sir. They did. We'll make sure they get it. Cross turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Lieutenant, you did the right thing, even if it costs you everything. He disappeared down the ladder. Mackenzie's hand found Connor's. Her voice was weak but steady. He's right. You did. Connor looked at her. At this woman he'd known for less than 6 hours. This woman who'd lost her mother, lost her career, lost everything to the same corruption that had taken his team. We both did, he said quietly. Havoc lifted his head, resting it on Connor's knee. The medic had stabilized the leg, stopped the bleeding. The dog would live. He'd never work full duty again, but he'd live. Outside, Connor could see them loading Major David Garrett into a helicopter, hands zip-tied behind his back, face blank. 2 years of lies, of corruption, of murder, ending in that blank expression. Connor waited to feel satisfaction, victory, relief. What he felt was emptier. 5 men were still dead. Sarah Torres was still dead. And all the evidence in the world wouldn't bring them back. But maybe it would stop others from dying the same way. Maybe that had to be enough. Mackenzie squeezed his hand once, understanding without words. They'd survived, both of them, against odds that should have killed them. Now came the hard part, living with what survival cost. The military hospital in Denver smelled like every hospital Connor had ever been in. Antiseptic trying to cover something older, something that didn't wash out. They'd separated him from Mackenzie within an hour of arrival. Standard procedure, they said, different injuries requiring different specialists. Connor knew what it really meant. They were isolating witnesses, making sure stories lined up before anyone compared notes. He sat on the examination table in a private room, watching a nurse check his vitals for the 3rd time. His ribs were bruised, not broken. Concussion was mild. Frostbite on 3 fingers would heal. Physically, he'd be fine. The door opened. Commander Cross entered without knocking, carrying a tablet and an expression that gave nothing away. "How you feeling, Lieutenant?" "I've been worse, sir." Cross pulled up a chair, sat down like a man preparing for a long conversation. "We need to talk about what happens next." "Court-martial, I know. It's not that simple." Cross set the tablet on the table between them. "We've been going through the black box data, cross-referencing with Ranger Torres's evidence. What we're looking at isn't just Garrett. It's a network. Defense contractors, base commanders, logistics officers. Money laundering through equipment procurement. Weapons shipped to conflict zones and sold to highest bidders. Your team in Syria, they weren't the first casualties. We've identified 3 other training accidents in the last 5 years, all connected to personnel who asked wrong questions." Connor's jaw tightened. "How many dead?" 19 service members, confirmed. Probably more we haven't connected yet." The number hit like a fist. 19. Not just his 5 brothers. 19 families destroyed. 19 funerals with folded flags and lies about honorable deaths. And Mackenzie's mother? Sarah Torres, civilian contractor, accounting department, Fort Richardson. She found discrepancies in equipment manifests, started documenting, made the mistake of reporting through official channels. Cross's voice went flat. Her car went off a bridge 3 days later. Investigators ruled it mechanical failure. Brake line compromised by rust. But it wasn't rust. No. It was a professional hit disguised as negligence. Connor stood, needed to move, couldn't sit still with this much rage in his chest. "How long have you known?" 8 months since we started the investigation. 2 months since we confirmed Sarah Torres wasn't an accident. 3 weeks since we identified Garrett as central figure. Cross met his eyes. "We didn't know about your team until you broadcasted. That opened a door we didn't know existed." "You were watching Garrett. You knew he was dirty, and you let him—" Connor's voice cracked. You let him keep operating. We needed evidence that would hold in military tribunal. We needed the network, not just one man. Cross's expression didn't change, but something moved behind his eyes. I'm not asking you to like it, Lieutenant. I'm telling you how it is. Where's Mackenzie? 3 floors up, stable. They're treating nerve damage in her hands from the restraints. She'll recover. I want to see her. That's not possible right now. Connor moved toward the door. Cross didn't stop him, just spoke quietly. She's asking for you too. Every time she wakes up, first thing out of her mouth is, "Where's Connor? Where's Havoc?" Nurses can't get her to calm down until they confirm you're both alive. Connor stopped, hand on the door. And Havoc? Surgery went well. Veterinary team says he'll need months of rehabilitation. Won't ever be full duty again. They're recommending retirement. She'll want him. We know. That's being arranged. Cross stood, picked up his tablet. You're not under arrest, Lieutenant. You're not confined to quarters. But you are under investigation. Don't leave the hospital. Don't contact anyone from your unit. Don't discuss the case with anyone except your assigned counsel. When do I get counsel? She's waiting outside. The woman who entered after Cross left was maybe 40, sharp-eyed, dressed in Navy JAG uniform with commander's insignia. She carried herself like someone who'd won more fights than she'd lost. Lieutenant Vale, I'm Commander Patricia Morrison, JAG Corps assigned to your case. She set a briefcase on the table, didn't bother with pleasantries. You're in a complicated position. What you did, broadcasting classified information, violating operational security, defying direct orders from a superior officer, those are serious charges. Under normal circumstances, you'd be looking at dishonorable discharge minimum, possible prison time. I understand. But these aren't normal circumstances. The information you broadcast led to the arrest of a major weapons trafficking network. Your actions potentially saved dozens of lives. That matters. She pulled out files, spread them across the table. Naval Intelligence wants you to cooperate with their investigation. Full testimony about everything that happened in Syria, everything you witnessed in Teton, everything Garrett said to you. And in exchange, they'll recommend honorable discharge with full benefits, no prison time, no criminal record. You walk away clean. Connor stared at the files. His career reduced to paperwork and negotiations. What's the catch? You can never speak about this publicly. No interviews, no books, no testimony outside sealed military proceedings. Everything you know stays classified. Morrison met his eyes. You'll get justice for your team, but it'll be quiet justice. No public vindication, no headlines. Just an honorable discharge and the knowledge that you did the right thing. And if I don't cooperate? Then they throw every charge they have at you. You'll spend the next 5 years fighting in military court. Even if you win, your career is over, and your reputation is destroyed. Connor looked at the papers, thought about his team, about promises made in the dark before missions went wrong, about honor that meant nothing if it stayed silent. I want Mackenzie Torres protected, full witness protection if she needs it, and I want Havoc's medical care covered. Everything. Rehabilitation, ongoing treatment, whatever he needs. Morrison nodded slowly. I can add those to negotiations. Then I'll cooperate. She produced a pen. Connor signed without reading everything. Some things you just had to trust. Morrison packed up her briefcase. You did good work out there, Lieutenant. Off the record, a lot of people are grateful you didn't follow protocol. After she left, Connor sat alone in the sterile room and let himself feel it. The weight of 2 years lifting. The grief that came with finally knowing the truth. His team hadn't died because they made mistakes. They died because they were good men who asked questions corrupt officers couldn't afford to answer. That didn't bring them back, but it meant their deaths counted for something. The door opened again. Connor expected another officer, another round of questions. Instead, Mackenzie stood in the doorway. She looked smaller in a hospital gown, IV line trailing from her hand, feet bare on cold tile. Her face was still too pale, bruises darker now as they healed. But she was standing, moving, alive. "They said I couldn't see you," she said. "They told me the same thing." "I don't follow orders well." "Yeah, I'm getting that." She crossed to him, moved carefully like someone relearning how their body worked. Sat down on the examination table beside him, close enough their shoulders touched. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Mackenzie said, "They told me about my mother. What really happened." "I'm sorry. 3 years I've been chasing this, building a case, convinced myself that if I just found enough evidence, if I just connected enough dots, someone would listen. Someone would care." Her voice stayed steady, but her hands shook. "She died because she tried to do the right thing, and nobody cared for 3 years." "I cared," Connor said quietly. "My team cared. We just didn't know we were all chasing the same monster." Mackenzie turned to look at him. "Commander Cross told me. About Syria. About your men. I'm sorry doesn't cover it." "No, it doesn't." "Your friend who died. What were their names?" Connor hadn't said their names out loud in months. Saying them made it real in ways that hurt. But Mackenzie was waiting, and something about her deserved the truth. "Marcus Webb, point man, best shot I ever saw. Had a daughter, Emma, 6 years old. Used to video chat her before every mission." Connor's throat tightened. "Tyler Chen, medic. Kept us alive through 5 deployments. Got engaged a week before Syria. She's still wearing his ring." "Keep going," Mackenzie said softly. "James Rodriguez, demo expert, funniest guy I ever met. Could defuse a bomb while telling jokes that made you forget you might die. Kyle Patterson, communications. Quiet, read books in 3 languages, wanted to teach high school after his contract ended." Connor stopped, swallowed hard. "And David Mitchell, my swim buddy. The guy who had my back in every situation. We went through BUD/S together, through every deployment. He was the best man at my wedding." "You're married?" "Was. She left after Syria. Couldn't handle what I became after." Connor looked at his hands. "Can't blame her. I wasn't there even when I was home." Mackenzie's hand found his. "Your team, they sound like good men." "The best." "My mom, she was..." Mackenzie's voice caught. "She was soft. That's the word people used. Too soft for military life. But she was brave in a different way." She saw something wrong and couldn't ignore it, even knowing what it might cost. "Takes a different kind of courage," Connor said. "To stand up when you know you're outgunned." "Yeah." They sat in silence, hands linked, sharing grief too heavy for words. Then Mackenzie said, "Havoc was her dog first." Connor turned, surprised. She worked with military working dogs. Accounting was her cover. She was actually investigating procurement fraud tied to the canine program. Havoc was assigned to her for training. Mackenzie's fingers tightened on Connor's. When she died, they were going to reassign him. I requested him. Fought for 6 months to get approval. They finally let me take him as personal protection after some things happened. What things? Someone broke into my apartment. Nothing taken, just moved things around. Photos turned face down. Laptop opened to my search history. Message was clear. We know what you're looking for. She met his eyes. Havoc kept me alive for 3 years, and I almost got him killed because I couldn't let it go. You saved lives, Mackenzie, including mine. Did I? Her voice cracked. Or did I just paint a target on everyone who tried to help me? Connor understood that guilt, had worn it himself for 2 years. Garrett painted the targets, not you, not your mother, not my team. We all just had the bad luck to see what he didn't want seen. And now what? We testified, get justice, move on? If moving on was that easy, I'd have done it 2 years ago. Mackenzie laughed once, bitter. Yeah. The door opened. A nurse appeared, saw them together, frowned. Ms. Torres, you're supposed to be in your room. I'm fine. You're attached to an IV. That's pulling loose. Then I'll get reattached. The nurse looked at Connor like this was his fault. Can you talk sense into her? Doubtful, Connor said. I need to see my dog, Mackenzie said, and her voice carried weight that stopped argument. I need to see Havoc right now. The nurse hesitated, then sighed. I'll get a wheelchair. 10 minutes later, they were in the veterinary wing, which apparently existed in every military hospital for working dogs injured in service. Havoc was in a recovery kennel, bandaged, sedated, but awake enough to lift his head when Mackenzie approached. She dropped to her knees beside the kennel door, pressed her hand against the bars. Havoc's tail moved weakly, his nose pushing toward her fingers. Hey, buddy, she whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Havoc whined softly, trying to get closer. Connor watched a veterinarian approach, mid-30s, calm eyes, name tag that read Captain Lewis. You're the ranger, Lewis said to Mackenzie. Yeah. He's been waiting for you. Won't settle. Keeps watching the door. Can I go in there? Normally we'd say no, but he needs you more than he needs protocol right now. Lewis unlocked the kennel. Careful, he's still healing. Mackenzie crawled inside, curled up beside Havoc, wrapped her arms around him. The dog pressed close, tucking his head under her chin, body trembling. She cried then, quietly, face buried in his fur. Connor felt something break open in his chest, watched this woman who'd been left to die, who'd lost everything, finding the only family she had left in a 3-legged dog who refused to quit. Lewis came to stand beside Connor. You're the SEAL who brought them in. Yeah. He's going to be okay. Won't be full duty, but he'll walk, run, live a normal life. And her? Physically, she'll heal. Emotionally? Lewis looked at Mackenzie, still holding Havoc like he might disappear. That's harder to predict. Connor knew the answer already. Some wounds didn't show up on X-rays. A voice behind them made both men turn. Commander Cross stood in the doorway, tablet in hand, expression grave. Lieutenant, we need to talk. Now. Connor followed Cross into a private conference room. Cross pulled up files on the screen, and what Connor saw made his blood go cold. The photographs from Mackenzie's camera. But Cross had zoomed in, enhanced, brought details into focus Connor hadn't seen before. In the background of one photo, partially hidden behind Garrett, was another figure. Face obscured by tactical gear, but body language distinctive. Familiar. Tell me you don't recognize him, Cross said quietly. Connor's stomach dropped. That's Captain Ryan Holloway. Your swim buddy, David Mitchell's brother-in-law. He was in Syria. He was... Connor's mind raced. He was supposed to die with us. He was on the mission roster. He called in sick at the last minute. Equipment malfunction. Never left base. Connor felt the room tilt. He knew. He knew what was coming. We think he was part of it from the beginning. Garrett's inside man in your unit. Fed him information. Identified which operators were asking questions. Mitch confronted him the day before the mission. We found emails. Jesus Christ. There's more. Cross pulled up another file. Ellen Vasquez, Chief Ranger, retired, Mackenzie's supervisor. She's been under surveillance for 6 months. We think she's involved. No. The word came out hard. Mackenzie trusts her. I know. That's the problem. Cross met his eyes. Vasquez was friends with Sarah Torres, was at the funeral, offered to mentor Mackenzie, has been close to her for 3 years. The entire time Mackenzie was investigating, Vasquez was the one person she reported everything to. Connor's hands clenched. You think Vasquez was feeding information to Garrett? We know she was. We have financial records, payments routed through shell companies. Vasquez was being paid to keep tabs on Mackenzie, to make sure she never got close enough to real evidence. But Mackenzie's evidence, she said it was hidden. We recovered it. From her ranger station, exactly where she told us. Cross's voice went flat. It's useless. Circumstantial at best. Nothing that would hold up in court. Vasquez made sure of that. She steered Mackenzie away from anything actionable while making her think she was getting close. For 3 years. For 3 years. Connor felt rage building, cold and focused. Does Mackenzie know? Not yet. We wanted to tell you first. You're the one she trusts. We need you to... No. Cross stopped. Lieutenant, I'm not lying to her. Not even by omission. She deserves to know. If we tell her now, before we have Vasquez in custody, she might tip her off. Might warn her. Mackenzie's not stupid. She won't compromise the operation. You willing to bet on that? Connor met Cross's eyes. With my life. They told her that night. Connor insisted on being there, insisted it come from him, not strangers in suits who saw her as a case file. They sat in her hospital room, door closed, only the 3 of them. Cross laid out the evidence methodically. Financial records, emails, surveillance footage of Vasquez meeting with known associates of Garrett's network. Mackenzie listened without interruption. Her face went pale, then blank. When Cross finished, she didn't cry, didn't rage, just sat very still. She was at my mother's funeral, Mackenzie said finally. She held me while I cried, told me she'd watch out for me, that Sarah would want me taken care of. We believe that was genuine, Cross said carefully, at least initially. The payments didn't start until you began investigating. So she sold me out for money. We think she was coerced first, threatened. The money came later. Does that make it better? Mackenzie's voice was sharp as glass. She let me think I was building a case. Let me risk my life for nothing. Havoc almost died for nothing. Connor reached for her hand. She pulled away. Don't. Don't try to make this okay. It's not okay. I know. She was the only person. Mackenzie's voice broke. After my mom died, she was the only person who didn't look at me like I was crazy, like I was obsessed. She listened. She helped. And the whole time she was... She stopped, covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook, but no sound came out. Connor waited, let her process. When she finally looked up, her eyes were dry and hard. What do you need from me? Cross pulled out his tablet. Vasquez doesn't know we're onto her. We need to keep it that way until we can arrest her and everyone she's connected to. That means you can't contact her. Can't give any indication you suspect her. When? 72 hours. We're coordinating arrests across 4 states. Timing matters. Will I be there when you take her? Cross hesitated. That's not usually. Will I be there? Something in Mackenzie's voice made Cross reconsider. Yes, you can be there. Good. After Cross left, Connor stayed. Mackenzie sat on the edge of her bed, staring at nothing. Everyone I trusted, she said quietly. Everyone I thought cared. They were either dead or lying to me. Not everyone. She looked at him. You? Yeah. We've known each other 3 days. Felt longer. Despite everything, Mackenzie almost smiled. Yeah. I'm not good at this, Connor said. At people. At trust. I broke after Syria. Turned into someone even I didn't recognize. But you... He stopped, searching for words. You make sense to me, in a world that hasn't made sense in a long time. That's the trauma talking. Maybe, but it's still true. Mackenzie was quiet for a moment. Then, what happens after? After the arrests, after the trials, after everything? What do people like us do when the fight's over? Connor didn't have an answer. He'd been asking himself the same question for 2 years. We figure it out, he said finally. Together. Together. Mackenzie tested the word. I haven't had together in a long time. Neither have I. She reached out then, let him take her hand. They sat in the sterile hospital room, 2 damaged people who'd survived when they shouldn't have. And maybe, that was enough to build something on, even if neither of them knew what that something was yet. 72 hours felt like both forever and no time at all. Connor was discharged the next morning with orders to remain available for testimony. Mackenzie stayed another day for observation, but the doctors couldn't find any medical reason to keep her beyond that. She was healing. Physically, anyway. They released Havoc into her care with a list of rehabilitation exercises and follow-up appointments. The dog could walk, but his gait was uneven, compensating for the missing leg. He stayed close to Mackenzie, pressing against her side whenever she moved, like he couldn't believe she was real. Connor understood the feeling. Naval Intelligence set them up in a safe house outside Denver. Small ranch-style place with reinforced doors and cameras on every approach. 2 agents assigned to watch the perimeter. Commander Cross made it clear they were witnesses under protection, not prisoners. They could leave any time. Neither of them wanted to leave. The first night, they sat at the kitchen table with files spread between them. Everything Cross had authorized them to see. Financial records, surveillance photos, email chains. The architecture of corruption laid bare. Vasquez has been taking payments for 4 years, Mackenzie said, voice flat. Started 6 months before my mother died. Connor looked up from the bank statements he'd been reviewing. You think she knew? Before the accident? I think she helped plan it. Mackenzie's hands shook as she turned pages. Look at this. Payment of $50,000 3 days before my mom's car went off that bridge. Description says, consulting fee. Another payment 2 weeks after. Same amount. Description says, project completion bonus. The words hung between them like poison. They paid her to kill your mother. Or to provide information that made killing her possible. Timing, roots, vulnerabilities. Mackenzie pushed the papers away. God, I was so stupid. She hugged me at the funeral, told me how much my mom meant to her. And I believed her. You trusted someone who gave you reason to trust. That's not stupid.
It got Havoc shot. It almost got you killed. It wasted 3 years of my life chasing evidence she made sure I'd never find.
Mackenzie stood, paced to the window, stared out at nothing.
She was the only person who made me feel less alone.
Connor joined her at the window. For what it's worth, I think part of her did care about you. People aren't just one thing. They can care and betray at the same time.
That's supposed to make it better?
No. It's supposed to make it real. Mackenzie turned to look at him. You ever been betrayed by someone you loved? Connor thought about Captain Holloway, about the man who'd been at David Mitchell's wedding, who'd held Mitchell's daughter at the reception, who'd stood beside Connor at 5 funerals and never once admitted what he'd done. Yeah, Connor said quietly. I have.
Does it get easier?
No, but you learn to carry it. Mackenzie was quiet for a long time. Then,
I want to be there when they arrest her. I want to see her face when she realizes it's over.
Cross said you could be.
Good.
Havoc appeared in the doorway, limping slightly, watching them both. Mackenzie went to him, knelt down, buried her face in his fur. The dog stood patient and steady, letting her hold him. Connor's phone buzzed. Text from Cross. Update. Call when secure. He stepped into the other room, dialed. Cross answered on the first ring. We've got a problem, Cross said without preamble. Connor's gut tightened. What kind? Holloway's gone. Disappeared from base housing 6 hours ago. Left his phone, his laptop, everything we could track. He's in the wind. He knows we're coming. Someone tipped him. We are trying to figure out who, but the leak could be anywhere. Point is, he's out there and he knows the operation timeline. Which means everyone else in the network knows too. We're accelerating the arrests, moving them up to tomorrow night. Coordinated hits across all locations simultaneously. Can't give them time to scatter. Connor processed quickly. What do you need from us? Vasquez is supposed to meet with Mackenzie tomorrow afternoon. Regular check-in they've been doing since the hospital. We want that meeting to happen. Want Mackenzie to act like nothing's wrong. Keep Vasquez in place until we're ready to move. You're asking her to sit across from the woman who helped murder her mother and pretend everything's fine? I'm asking her to help us close this case. Cross's voice hardened. Holloway's disappearance means we've got maybe 24 hours before everyone rabbits. Vasquez is the last piece holding this network together. If she runs, we lose half our targets. Let me talk to Mackenzie. You've got 5 minutes. Then I need an answer. Connor hung up, returned to the kitchen. Mackenzie was making tea, hands still unsteady, Havoc at her feet. That was Cross, Connor said. I heard. Walls are thin. She set down the kettle. They want me to see Ellen tomorrow. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Mackenzie turned, and her eyes were hard. If she runs, people die. More operators like your team. More civilians like my mom. I'm done letting her win. Mackenzie, I can do this, Connor. I've been lying to myself for 3 years. One more day won't kill me. But Connor heard what she didn't say. The fear beneath the bravado. The way her voice cracked just slightly on the last word. I'll be there, he said. Close. If anything goes wrong, I know. They spent the next 12 hours preparing. Cross sent over a wire, small enough to hide, powerful enough to record everything. Connor helped Mackenzie practice, running through scenarios, testing responses. She might ask about your injuries, Connor said. About what happened in the wilderness. I'll tell her the truth. Most of it. You found me, brought me to a shelter.
We were attacked. Naval intelligence showed up. That's all public record now.
And if she asks about Garrett specifically? Mackenzie's jaw set.
I'll tell her I'm grateful he's arrested, that I hope he tells them everything.
Good. Keep it simple. Don't volunteer information. They ran through it again and again. By midnight, Mackenzie's responses were smooth, natural. But Connor could see the toll it took. The way she held her shoulders too tight. The way her hands curled into fists when no one was watching. He found her at 2 a.m, sitting on the back porch with Havoc, staring at stars she probably couldn't see. "Can't sleep?" Connor asked.
Didn't try. She didn't look at him. Keep thinking about all the times she said she cared. All the times I believed her.
Connor sat down beside her. My swim buddy, David Mitchell, he had this saying, "Trust isn't about being right about people. It's about being brave enough to risk being wrong." You weren't stupid for trusting Vasquez. You were brave.
Brave got my mom killed.
No. Corruption got your mom killed. Greed. Evil. Not trust. Mackenzie finally looked at him.
How do you do it? Trust anyone after what happened to your team?
Honestly, I don't. Didn't. Until you.
We barely know each other.
I know you didn't quit when they left you to die. I know your first thought after being rescued was protecting evidence. I know you risked everything to get truth out. Connor's voice went quiet. I know you're the first person in 2 years who makes me think maybe I'm not broken beyond repair. Mackenzie's breath caught. Connor, you don't have to say anything. I need you to know. Tomorrow, when you're sitting across from her, when everything in you wants to scream, you're not alone. I've got your back.
Promise?
On my team's memory, I promise. She leaned against him then, just slightly, and they sat in the dark until dawn started breaking. The meeting was set for 2 p.m. at a coffee shop in downtown Denver. Public location, lots of witnesses. Safe, in theory. Connor arrived an hour early, took a position across the street with a clear view of the entrance, wore civilian clothes, ball cap pulled low. 2 other agents positioned at different angles. Cross was in a van 3 blocks away, monitoring everything. Mackenzie arrived at 1:55. Connor watched her walk in, back straight, movements controlled. She'd worn her ranger uniform, professional, put together, giving nothing away. Vasquez was already there, tall woman, late 50s, gray hair cut short, strong features weathered by years outdoors. She stood when Mackenzie entered, smile wide and warm, pulled Mackenzie into a hug that looked genuine. Connor's hands clenched. Through the wire, he heard Vasquez speak.
Mackenzie, God, you look thin. Are they feeding you?
Hospital food, you know how it is. Mackenzie's voice was steady.
Sit. I ordered your usual, chamomile tea, right? You remembered? Of course I remembered.
They settled at a corner table. Connor watched through the window, tracking body language, looking for tells.
So, Vasquez said, tell me everything. The official reports are so dry. What really happened out there?
It was... Mackenzie paused, and Connor could hear her breathing through the wire.
It was bad, Ellen. Really bad. Start from the beginning.
Mackenzie laid it out. The helicopter crash, the photographs, being hunted. Connor's rescue, the siege at the fire tower. She kept to facts, emotional but not breaking down. Vasquez listened, asked questions, played the concerned mentor perfectly.
And this SEAL who found you,
Vasquez said carefully.
Connor Vale. How much did you tell him? About what? About your investigation. About what you've been working on for 3 years.
Connor's pulse quickened. This was the moment, the first real probe.
I told him I was tracking illegal activity, Mackenzie said, that I'd documented things. He was focused on recovering the black box. Did you mention me?
The question hung there, innocent on the surface, loaded underneath.
Should I have?
Mackenzie asked.
No, I just...
Vasquez smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes.
I worry about you. You've been through so much. I don't want you trusting the wrong people. Like who? Like military investigators who might use you to close cases.
Make you think you matter, when really you're just another witness they'll throw away when they're done. Connor felt cold settle in his chest. Vasquez was working Mackenzie, trying to isolate her, plant doubt.
Commander Cross seems legitimate, Mackenzie said carefully.
They all seem legitimate until they're not. Vasquez leaned forward. Listen to me. Your mother trusted the wrong people, reported through official channels. Look where that got her.
She died in a car accident.
Did she? Vasquez's voice dropped.
Or did she die because someone wanted her dead and made it look like an accident?
Mackenzie went very still. Connor could hear her breathing change through the wire.
What are you saying, Ellen? I'm saying the people your mother reported to, the people who were supposed to protect her, they're the same people who let her die. Maybe even arranged it.
Vasquez reached across the table, took Mackenzie's hand.
You're in danger, honey. More danger than you know.
And the people telling you they'll keep you safe? They're lying.
How do you know that?
Because I've been in this game a long time. I've seen what happens to people who ask too many questions. Seen what happens to their families. Vasquez squeezed her hand.
I'm trying to save you.
Connor's radio crackled, Cross's voice, low and urgent. She's trying to flip her. Get ready to extract if this goes south. Through the window, Connor watched Mackenzie process, saw the moment she made her choice.
Ellen, Mackenzie said quietly. Did you know? Before my mom died? Did you know it was coming?
Vasquez's face went blank.
What? I found financial records, payments to you, before and after her death, descriptions that don't make sense unless you were part of it.
The air in the coffee shop changed. Vasquez's expression shuddered. Her hand released Mackenzie's.
Who told you that? Does it matter? Mackenzie, you need to listen to me very carefully.
Whatever they told you, whatever they showed you, it's fabricated. They're setting me up to cover their own involvement.
Really? Because the records are pretty detailed. Bank accounts, routing numbers, dates that match exactly.
Mackenzie's voice stayed level, but Connor could hear the rage underneath. You took money to spy on me, to make sure I never found real evidence. You took money from my mother's murder.
That's not...
Vasquez stopped. Reset. When she spoke again, her voice was different, colder.
You don't understand how this works.
Then explain it to me.
Your mother was reckless. She had evidence, but she didn't know how to use it. She was going to blow the whole thing open and get everyone killed, including herself, including you.
So you helped kill her to protect her?
I helped contain a situation that was spiraling out of control.
Vasquez leaned back.
And yes, I took money for it. Because that's how the world works. People die, or people get rich.
I chose to get rich and keep you alive in the process.
You call 3 years of lying keeping me alive?
I kept you busy with useless leads while the real work got done. Kept you feeling important while keeping you away from people who would have killed you. Vasquez's eyes hardened.
You're alive because of me. Havoc is alive because of me. And this is the thanks I get? Mackenzie stood. Connor tensed, ready to move. "No," Mackenzie said. "The thanks you get is I don't kill you right here." "You're making a mistake." "The only mistake I made was trusting you." Vasquez stood too, and her hand moved toward her jacket. Connor was moving before conscious thought. Through the door, crossing the coffee shop in 3 strides, weapon drawn. "Hands where I can see them!" Everyone in the shop froze. Vasquez's hand stopped halfway to her jacket. She looked at Connor, then back at Mackenzie, and something like understanding crossed her face. "You were wearing a wire."
"Every word," Mackenzie said. "You stupid girl. You have no idea what you just did." "I just got justice from my mother." "You just signed your own death warrant." Vasquez looked at Connor. "You think arresting me ends this? You think Garrett was running this alone? This network has roots everywhere. Military, civilian, government. You cut off one head, 3 more grow back." "Then we'll cut those off too," Connor said. Federal agents flooded through the door. Vasquez didn't resist as they pulled her hands behind her back, read her rights, walked her toward the exit. She stopped beside Mackenzie. "Your mother loved you. You should know that. She begged me to watch over you if anything happened. And I did. In my own way, I kept that promise. Don't you dare talk about her." "Someone has to." Vasquez's voice dropped. "Because you're so busy hating me, you're not seeing the bigger picture. Your mother didn't find corruption. She was part of it. She was helping them launder money until she got cold feet. That's why they killed her. Not because she was a hero, because she was a liability." Mackenzie's face went white. "You're lying." "Am I? Ask Commander Cross to show you her real file, the one they've been hiding. Ask him why Sarah Torres had offshore accounts, why she made trips to the Caymans twice a year, why she—" "That's enough," Connor said, stepping between them. "No, she needs to hear this. She needs to know that everyone she trusted, including her precious mother, was dirty. The only honest person in her life is me, because at least I'm not pretending to be something I'm not." They dragged Vasquez out. Her words echoed in the sudden silence. Mackenzie stood frozen. Connor reached for her, but she pulled away. "Is it true?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "I don't know. But it could be." "Mackenzie, I need to see Cross, now." They found Cross in the van. Mackenzie climbed in without asking permission, Connor right behind her. "Show me my mother's file," Mackenzie demanded. "The real one." Cross looked at Connor. Connor nodded. Cross pulled up encrypted files on his screen. "Sarah Torres did have offshore accounts. We've known that since we started investigating. But what? But the accounts were set up by the network. They were putting money in her name without her knowledge, building leverage. When she discovered what they were doing, when she tried to report it, that's when they killed her. Made it look like she was dirty so no one would believe her accusations." Mackenzie's knees gave out. Connor caught her, lowered her to the bench. "They framed her." "Posthumously, yes. That's what these people do. They destroy your reputation so thoroughly that even your family doubts you." Cross's voice gentled. "Your mother was clean. The evidence proves it." But Vasquez is right about one thing. They've spent 3 years making sure anyone who looks at Sarah Torres sees a criminal instead of a victim. "Can you fix it?" Mackenzie's voice cracked. "Can you clear her name?" "That's what this whole case is about. We clear everyone. Your mother, Vale's team, all the people who died trying to do the right thing." "How long?" "Trials take time, but the arrests are happening now. simultaneously, across 4 states. We're bringing down the entire network tonight. Connor's radio crackled, then Cross's, then every device in the van lit up at once. Command, this is Alpha Team. We've got shots fired at the Garrett extraction point. Multiple hostiles, requesting immediate backup. Cross grabbed the radio. Alpha Team, report status. Garrett's people knew we were coming. It's an ambush. We're pinned down. More voices joined. Different teams, different locations, all reporting the same thing. They'd walked into a trap. Cross's face went pale. They knew. They knew every location, every timing. Someone inside fed them everything. Connor felt ice in his veins. Holloway. No, Holloway didn't have access to operational details. Cross pulled up screens frantically. This came from higher, much higher. Another voice on the radio. Command, Beta Team, the targets are gone, all of them. Houses are empty. Looks like they cleared out hours ago. Gamma Team reporting, same here, nobody home. Delta Team, we've got nothing. One by one, every team reported the same. Empty houses, abandoned offices, no targets, just traps and ambushes. The entire operation had failed. Cross slammed his fist on the console. God damn it! Mackenzie looked at Connor. What does this mean? It means they're in the wind, all of them, and they know we're coming. Including Garrett? Especially Garrett. Cross was on multiple channels, coordinating, trying to salvage something from the wreckage. But Connor could read the situation. This wasn't a setback. This was a complete failure. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. You should have taken the deal, Lieutenant. Now everyone you care about pays the price. Connor showed Cross. The commander's face went grim. They're coming for you. Both of you. Let them come, Connor said. You don't understand. These people, they don't just kill you. They erase you. Your reputation, your memory, your family. They make it so you never existed. Then we make sure they don't get the chance. Cross looked at them both. I can't protect you anymore. The leak means I don't know who to trust in my own command. You need to disappear. Tonight. New identities, relocation, the works. No, Mackenzie said. It's not a suggestion. I said no. She stood, and despite everything, her voice was steel. I've been running my whole life. Foster homes, failed relationships, dead-end jobs. I'm done running. If they want me, they can come find me. But I'm not hiding. Connor recognized that look. He'd worn it himself 2 years ago, right before his team walked into an ambush. Mackenzie, this isn't about bravery. No, it's about survival. And I survive by fighting back. That's what Havoc taught me. That's what my mother would want. She looked at Connor. You in or out? Connor thought about his team, about promises made in the dark, about 2 years of guilt and anger that had nowhere to go. I'm in. Cross shook his head. You're both insane. Probably, Connor agreed. But we're also the only people who've survived this long. Maybe that counts for something. Or maybe you've just been lucky. Then I guess we're about to find out. They left the van in separate vehicles. Connor drove Mackenzie and Havoc in an unmarked sedan Cross had requisitioned. No destination, just motion. Getting distance between them and the failed operation. Where are we going? Mackenzie asked, after 20 minutes of silence. Somewhere they won't look. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got right now. Havoc whined from the back seat. Connor glanced in the mirror. The dog was panting too fast, stress making his injuries worse. He needs to rest, Mackenzie said. I know. Connor, we can't just drive forever. I'm working on it. His phone buzzed. Cross. Connor almost didn't answer, but instinct made him pick up. You need to come back, Cross said without preamble. Now. Not happening. Vale, we've got someone in custody. Someone talking. You need to hear this. Connor's grip tightened on the wheel. Who? Captain Ryan Holloway. Turned himself in an hour ago. Says he wants to make a deal. The world tilted. Connor pulled over hard, tires skidding on gravel. Mackenzie grabbed the dashboard. Connor, what? He held up a hand, kept the phone pressed to his ear. Holloway's there? Now? Sitting in an interrogation room, asking for you specifically. Says he'll only talk to you. Why? Because he claims he wasn't the leak, claims he knows who was, and he says if we don't listen, more people die tonight. Connor looked at Mackenzie. She was watching him, reading his face. It could be a trap, Connor said. Everything could be a trap at this point. But he walked in alone, unarmed, hands up. Either he's genuinely trying to help, or he's suicidal. Cross's voice dropped. Your call, Lieutenant, but make it fast. Connor ended the call, sat there with the engine running, mind racing through possibilities. It's Holloway, he said finally. He turned himself in. Wants to talk to me. The man who betrayed your team? Yeah. What are you going to do? Connor stared at the road ahead. Every instinct screamed trap. But Holloway had been David Mitchell's brother-in-law, had held Mitchell's daughter at her father's funeral. Some part of Connor needed to look that man in the eye and ask why. I'm going back. Then I'm coming with you. Mackenzie, don't. We're in this together. You said that. Connor wanted to argue, wanted to keep her safe, but looking at her, he saw the same determination that had kept her alive in the wilderness, the same refusal to quit that had nearly gotten her killed. Okay, he said. Together. They arrived at the federal building 40 minutes later. Heavy security. Cross met them at the entrance, face drawn with exhaustion. He's been sitting there for 2 hours. Won't eat, won't drink, just keeps saying your name. What about the leak? Mackenzie asked. Did you find out who tipped off the network? Cross's expression went dark. That's what he claims to know, but he'll only talk to Vale. They walked through secure corridors, concrete and fluorescent lights, the kind of place where truth got extracted whether people wanted to give it or not. Holloway sat alone in the interrogation room, hands cuffed to the table. He'd aged since Connor last saw him, hair graying at the temples, lines deeper around his eyes. But the face was the same. The face that had smiled at Connor's promotion, that had stood as Connor's teammate for 5 years. Holloway looked up when the door opened. Something moved in his expression. Regret, maybe. Or relief. Connor. Don't. Connor's voice was ice. Don't use my first name like we're friends. Fair enough. Holloway leaned back, chains rattling. I deserve that. I deserve worse. Then start talking. Cross says you know who the leak is. I do, because I've been tracking the same network you have, for 18 months, ever since Syria. Connor felt Mackenzie tense beside him. He kept his voice level. You're saying you weren't part of it. I was part of it, in the beginning. Garrett recruited me 4 years ago. Easy money, he said. Just move some equipment around. Don't ask questions. I was stupid enough to believe it. Holloway's hands clenched. By the time I realized what we were really doing, I was in too deep. They had evidence, photos, financial records. They owned me. So you let 5 men die?
No. Holloway's voice cracked. I tried to stop it. I went to Garrett the day before the mission, told him I was out, that I'd report everything if he sent that team. He said if I did, they'd kill my family. Emily, the kids, said they had people watching my house 24/7. You could have warned us. I tried. I called in sick at the last minute hoping you'd abort the mission, but they just adjusted the roster. Sent you anyway. Holloway's eyes were red. David Mitchell confronted me that morning, said he knew something was wrong, asked me to tell him the truth. And God help me, I lied to his face. Told him I had food poisoning. Watched him walk to that helicopter, knowing he wouldn't come back. The silence was suffocating. Mackenzie spoke quietly. If this is true, why turn yourself in now? Because they're escalating. The failed arrests tonight? That's phase 1. Phase 2 happens at midnight. They're not just running anymore. They're purging. Everyone who knows anything, everyone who could testify, witnesses, investigators, agents, they've got a kill list with 30 names on it. Holloway looked at Connor. You're number 1. She's number 2. Connor felt cold settle into his bones. Who's the leak? That's the problem. I don't know for certain, but I know how to find out. Holloway leaned forward as far as his chains allowed. There's a server, offshore, contains all their communications, names, dates, operations, everything. If we can access it before midnight, we can identify the leak and stop the purge. Where's the server? Wyoming, Teton, in an abandoned ranger station that's supposed to be condemned. Mackenzie's breath caught. I know that station. It was shut down 6 years ago after a fire. No one's supposed to go near it. Perfect cover. They've been using it as a waypoint for data transfer. Server runs automatically, encrypted, but I have the access codes. Connor studied Holloway's face, looking for the lie. Why should I believe you? Because David Mitchell was my brother, not by blood, but by choice. And I let him die. Holloway's voice broke completely. I've spent 2 years trying to find a way to make it right. This is it. This is how I honor him. Help me stop them. Please. Connor wanted to say no, wanted to walk away and let this man rot. But he thought about his team, about promises made, about justice that stayed quiet too long. If you're lying, then you kill me yourself. I won't fight back. I owe you that much. Cross entered the room. Vale, can I talk to you? Outside? They stepped into the corridor. Mackenzie followed, Havoc limping behind her. You can't seriously be considering this, Cross said. You have a better option? We have teams combing through data. We'll find the leak eventually. Eventually doesn't help if we're dead by midnight. Connor checked his watch. 8 hours. Holloway could be telling the truth. Or he could be leading you into another ambush, one that finishes what Garrett started. Then I guess I'll find out. This is insane. Yeah, seems to be a theme. Connor looked at Mackenzie. You don't have to come. Stop saying that. We've established I'm coming. Actually, Cross said, neither of you is going anywhere. You're both under protective custody until we sort this out. You don't have the authority. I do now. As of an hour ago, this became a national security matter. That means I can detain material witnesses. Indefinitely. Connor felt rage building. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's mine to make. Cross gestured down the hall. There's a secure room. You'll wait there until Havoc growled, low and warning. He was staring at the far end of the corridor, at shadows that moved wrong. Connor reacted on instinct, grabbed Mackenzie, pulled her behind a concrete pillar.
Cross reached for his weapon, but never cleared the holster. Gunfire erupted, suppressed rounds that sounded like hard coughs. Cross went down, blood blooming across his chest. Agents scattered, returning fire, voices shouting commands that died in chaos. Connor counted shooters. 4. No, 5. Military precision, professional spacing. They weren't trying to capture anyone. This was an execution. He fired back, covering Mackenzie as she crawled toward Cross. She pressed her hands to his chest, trying to stop bleeding that came too fast. "Cross, stay with me!" The commander's eyes were unfocused. "Server, get to... server." "Don't talk. Save your strength." "No time. They're everywhere." Cross grabbed her wrist with bloody fingers. "Trust no one. No one. Understand?" Then his grip loosened. His eyes went distant. Mackenzie's scream was swallowed by more gunfire. Connor grabbed her, pulled her up. "We have to move, now!" "But Cross is dead, and we will be too if we stay." They ran. Down corridors, through offices, Havoc keeping pace despite his injury. Behind them, the gunfire continued. Agents dying. The federal building, supposedly the safest place they could be, turned into a killing ground. Connor found a service exit, kicked it open. They spilled into an alley. Mackenzie was shaking, covered in Cross's blood. "They killed him. Right there. They just..." "I know. Keep moving." They reached the sedan. Connor drove without destination again, just putting distance between them and death. His mind raced through implications. Shooters inside a federal building, executing a naval intelligence commander in broad daylight. The leak wasn't just high up, it was everywhere. "Connor," Mackenzie's voice was small. "What do we do?" "We get Holloway. We get those access codes. And we end this." "How? We can't go back there." Connor pulled out his phone, called a number he hadn't used in 2 years. It rang 4 times before someone answered. "Vale? That you?" "Yeah, Marcus. I need a favor." Marcus Webb had been on Connor's team. Connor's brain struggled with that reality for a second before correcting. Marcus Webb's brother, Jason, former Marine sniper, now working private security. "Name it." "I need an extraction. Federal prisoner, high risk." "You're kidding." "Do I sound like I'm kidding?" Long pause. "Where?" Connor gave him the location. Jason whistled low. "That's insane." "Yeah. You in?" "Marcus would kick my ass if I said no. Give me 2 hours." Connor hung up, looked at Mackenzie. "We're getting Holloway out." "That's prison break. Federal charges. They'll hunt us forever." "They're already hunting us. Might as well make it count." Mackenzie laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "We're really doing this?" "Unless you've got a better idea." "Actually," she pulled out her phone. "I might. The ranger station Holloway mentioned. I have keys. Backup set from when I worked that district. Never turned them in when it closed." "They'll have changed the locks." "Not if they wanted it to look abandoned. Changing locks draws attention. Maintenance records, someone asking questions." Her mind was working fast now. If they're using it as a data waypoint, they need it looking forgotten. Original locks would be part of that. Connor felt something shift. Hope, maybe. Or desperation dressed up as strategy. "So we get Holloway, get the codes, drive to Wyoming, access the server before midnight. And hope we don't die in the process." "That's the plan." "It's a terrible plan." "Got a better one?" Mackenzie looked at Havoc in the back seat. The dog was watching them both, ears forward, trusting. "No,
she said finally. Let's do it.
Jason Webb arrived exactly 2 hours later in a black SUV with stolen plates and enough firepower to stage a small war. He was taller than his brother had been, leaner, with the same steady hands and cold eyes. "You look like hell, Vale."
Feel worse.
Jason looked at Mackenzie. "You the ranger?
Yeah.
You know what you're getting into?"
Not even a little bit.
Jason almost smiled.
Good. People who think they know usually die first.
He pulled out tactical gear, distributed it efficiently.
Here's how this works. I've got a team positioned around the federal building. When I give the signal, they create a diversion. Fire alarm, smoke, confusion. We have maybe 3 minutes to get your guy out before security locks down.
3 minutes? Connor checked the weapons Jason handed him.
Tight. It's what we've got. You want me to abort?
Connor looked at Mackenzie.
She nodded once. We go.
The operation was surgical. Jason's team triggered the alarm at exactly 9 p.m. Sprinkler systems activated. Prisoners evacuated to designated safe zones. In the chaos, Connor and Mackenzie moved with Jason's crew, dressed as federal agents, badges clipped to tactical vests. They reached Holloway's holding cell in 90 seconds. Connor cut the locks while Mackenzie watched the corridor. Havoc stayed close, growling at anyone who got too near. Holloway looked up, shocked.
You came back.
Access codes. Now.
They're memorized. Get me out and I'll give them to you.
Not how this works.
Vale, they're going to kill my family if I...
Your family's already in protective custody. Real protective custody. Friends of my team who owe me favors. They're safe. Connor grabbed Holloway's collar. Now give me the goddamn codes or I leave you here. Holloway rattled off a series of numbers and letters. Connor memorized them, made Holloway repeat them twice to verify. Good. Let's move. They made it to the exit before alarms shifted from fire to security breach. Lockdown protocols engaged, doors slamming shut, guards responding with weapons drawn. Go! Jason shouted. They ran. Havoc keeping pace, adrenaline overriding pain. Bullets sparked off concrete. Jason returned fire, controlled bursts, covering their escape. They hit the SUV at full speed, piled in. Jason floored it before doors fully closed.
That was the longest 3 minutes of my life, Mackenzie gasped.
Welcome to my world, Jason said, cutting through traffic with military precision. Holloway sat in the back, cuffed to a roll bar. He looked at Connor.
Thank you.
Don't thank me yet. If those codes don't work, you die first.
Fair.
Jason drove them to a safe house on the outskirts of Denver. Military contacts, Jason explained. People who didn't ask questions. They had 8 hours until midnight. Inside, Connor spread maps across a table. Teton Wilderness, the ranger station's location, approach routes, escape vectors.
It's a 6-hour drive, Mackenzie said. Maybe 5 if we push it.
Which gives us what, an hour to access the server and get out? Connor shook his head. Not enough time if something goes wrong. Then we make sure nothing goes wrong. Holloway leaned forward, chains rattling. There's something else. About the server. Connor looked up sharply. What? It's booby-trapped, physically. If you input the wrong code 3 times or try to force access, the whole system wipes. Everything gone in seconds. You're just telling us this now? I'm telling you before it matters. Holloway's voice rose. The codes I gave you are current as of 6 months ago. If they've rotated them, and they might have, we'd be locked out. Or worse. Mackenzie pushed away from the table.
So this could all be for nothing.
It could be, but it's the only shot we have. Connor's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, then thought better. Answered without speaking. Lieutenant Vale. The voice was cultured, educated, cold. Not Garrett. Someone else. My name is Senator Richard Hale, Defense Appropriations Committee. I believe we need to talk. Connor's blood went cold. How did you get this number? I have access to many things, including the knowledge that you are planning a desperate raid on a secure facility in Wyoming. That would be unfortunate. For who? For everyone. You see, the network you're trying to expose, I'm at the top. I'm the leak. I'm the reason every arrest failed, and I'm the reason Commander Cross is dead. Connor felt rage so pure it burned. You son of a... Save it. I'm calling to make an offer. One time only. Walk away. Right now. Take the girl, take the dog, disappear. New identities, money, protection. I'll even clear your mother's name, Ranger Torres. Make her the hero she actually was. Mackenzie grabbed Connor's wrist. He put the call on speaker. And in exchange, Connor said, you forget everything. The server, the evidence, all of it. Let sleeping dogs lie. Everyone who matters already knows the truth. Prosecuting it publicly helps no one. It just destroys more lives. You mean it ends your career? I mean it destabilizes an intelligence network that's kept this country safe for a decade. You think we're villains? We've stopped more terrorist attacks than you can imagine. Funded operations Congress would never approve. Saved thousands of American lives. So yes, we made money. So yes, we cut corners. But we got results. By killing anyone who questioned you. By protecting operations from people who couldn't handle moral complexity. Hale's voice hardened. Your team in Syria? They were going to leak information that would have compromised an entire network of assets. Hundreds of lives at risk because 5 SEALs couldn't follow orders. Sarah Torres? Same thing. She didn't understand the bigger picture. They were innocent. No one's innocent. And everyone dies eventually. I'm offering you a chance to die old and rich, instead of young and forgotten. Take it. Connor looked at Mackenzie, at Havoc, at Holloway chained to the wall, at Jason standing in the doorway with weapons and loyalty that defied reason. No, Connor said. Excuse me? I said no. You killed my team, killed her mother, killed everyone who trusted you. I'm not walking away. I'm coming for you. Then you're a dead man. Maybe. But you're coming down with me. Connor ended the call. The silence was absolute. Jason spoke first. You just declared war on a United States senator. Yeah. We could all die. Probably. Count me in. Holloway looked at Connor with something like awe. You're actually going to do this? Were you listening? Yes. Then I'm going to tell you something that changes everything. Holloway's voice dropped. The server in Wyoming? It's not the only one. There's a master backup. Contains everything. Every operation, every name, every crime. Complete insurance policy. Where? Arlington National Cemetery, Section 60. Your team's graves. Connor felt the world stop. What? David Mitchell's headstone. It's hollow. Contains a data drive with everything. Garrett's paranoia, he never trusted digital-only systems, put physical backups in places no one would search. Graves of the men he killed. Figured no one would dare disturb them. Connor's vision went white at the edges. His team's graves, desecrated, used as storage for evidence of their own murders. Mackenzie grabbed his arm. Connor, breathe. He couldn't. Rage choked him. 2 years he'd visited those graves. 2 years he'd stood there, grieving. And the entire time, the proof of their murders was literally beneath his feet.
I'll kill him, Connor whispered. I'll kill them all. Not if we don't move, Mackenzie's voice cut through the fury. Forget Wyoming.
We go to Arlington, get the drive, broadcast everything before they can stop us.
They'll be watching the cemetery.
Then we fight through them. Jason checked his weapons. Arlington's crawling with military. Security's tight. They'll see us coming a mile away.
Not if we go in during a funeral,
Holloway said.
There's one tomorrow, 10 a.m. Admiral's service. Full military honors. Cemetery will be packed with personnel. Perfect cover.
Connor looked at the clock. 15 hours until the funeral. 16 until they could access the grave. 16 hours to plan an assault on one of the most secure locations in the country. 16 hours until either justice or death. Then we better get to work, Connor said. And somewhere in the darkness, Havoc howled once. A sound that carried grief and rage and promises written in blood. The sound of war beginning. They drove through the night. 4 hours to Arlington. Connor behind the wheel, Mackenzie beside him, Holloway and Jason in the back with Havoc between them. No one slept. Sleep meant vulnerability, and they'd run out of places to be vulnerable.
Tell me about Mitchell, Mackenzie said quietly. Not how he died, how he lived.
Connor's hands tightened on the wheel. Why?
Because in a few hours we're going to desecrate his grave. I need to know it's worth it.
Connor was silent for a long time. Then, he had a daughter, Emma. 5 years old when he deployed for the last time. She drew him a picture. Stick figures holding hands. Her, him, her mom. He laminated it, carried it on every mission. Said it reminded him why we fought.
What happened to her?
She's 7 now. Lives with her mother in Virginia. Tyler Chen's fiancé checks on them. They have playdates. Kids whose fathers died together. Connor's voice cracked. Emma asked me at the funeral why her daddy wasn't coming home. I told her he was a hero, that he died protecting people. And the whole time I knew it was a lie, that he died because someone sold him out for money. Mackenzie reached across, touched his arm.
Now we make it true. We make him a hero by finishing what he started.
He started following orders, trusting his chain of command.
No, he started questioning when things didn't add up. Holloway said Mitchell confronted him. That means your friend knew something was wrong. He just didn't live long enough to prove it.
Her fingers tightened.
We prove it for him.
Holloway spoke from the back seat. He came to me the night before, said he'd found discrepancies in equipment manifests, asked if I knew anything. I told him to drop it, that some things weren't worth dying for. His voice went hollow. I was wrong. Yeah, Connor said. You were. They reached Arlington at dawn. The cemetery stretched across hills, white headstones in perfect rows. Section 60 held the most recent casualties. Connor's team. Mackenzie's breath caught when she saw it.
How many graves?
Thousands, just in this section.
All of them someone's Mitchell. Someone's mother.
Jason pulled out surveillance equipment. Security's heavy. Patrols every 15 minutes. Cameras on major pathways. But the funeral's at 10. Admiral Morrison, 4-star. It'll draw crowds, media. We blend in with mourners, slip away during the service, make our move.
How long do we have once we're at the grave?
5 minutes, maybe less. Someone will notice.
That's not enough time to excavate.
It's hollow, Holloway interrupted. The headstone, not the ground. Mitchell's stone has a false back. Garrett told me personally. Said it was poetic, hiding evidence inside the memorial of the man it incriminated. Connor felt bile rise. I'm going to kill him.
Get in line,
Mackenzie said. They separated. purchased dark suits from a department store that opened at 6, changed in a gas station bathroom, became anonymous mourners, faces blank, movements careful. Havoc wore a service dog vest Jason had procured. No one questioned a veteran with a support animal. The funeral began precisely at 10. Honor guard, rifle salute, flag presentation. Connor stood at the back, scanning faces. Mackenzie beside him, hand hovering near the weapon hidden under her jacket. Jason positioned at 3 o'clock. Holloway at 9, still cuffed, but the cuffs hidden under long sleeves.
There,
Mackenzie whispered. Senator Hale, standing in the front row. Distinguished, gray-haired, wearing grief like a costume. Beside him, Major Garrett in full dress uniform, despite being arrested days earlier.
"He's out," Connor breathed. "How is he out?"
"Hale," Jason said through their shared earpiece. "He got him released. Probably had judges in his pocket." Connor's vision tunneled. Garrett was 50 feet away, the man who'd killed his team. Free, smiling at mourners. "Connor," Mackenzie's voice cut through the rage. "Mission first, revenge later." She was right. Connor forced himself to breathe, to think tactically. Garrett's presence meant this was a trap, meant they knew. But they'd come too far to stop now. The service reached its midpoint. Crowds shifted, some moving toward the grave, others dispersing. Perfect chaos. Connor moved with Mackenzie and Havoc, weaving through mourners, using bodies as cover. Jason created a distraction, dropped his phone, made a scene retrieving it, drew attention away. They reached Mitchell's grave. The white marble headstone bore his name, rank, dates of birth and death. Beloved husband, father, warrior. Words carved in stone that meant nothing if the men who killed him walked free. Connor knelt, pretending to pay respects. His hands found the back of the stone, felt the seam Holloway had described. Pressed. Something clicked. A panel swung open. Inside, a waterproof case the size of a deck of cards.
"Got it,"
Connor whispered. "Company," Jason's voice crackled. 6 hostiles, moving your direction. 30 seconds. Connor pocketed the case, started to rise. Mackenzie grabbed his arm, pulled him back down.
"Wait, look."
She pointed at the headstone, at an inscription below the official text. Small, almost invisible unless you knew to look.
"The truth will surface. Tell Emma I tried."
Mitchell had known, had left a message, had died trying to expose this. 20 seconds, Jason warned. They moved, fast but not running. Just mourners leaving, grief-stricken, wanting distance. Havoc led, head low, tracking by scent. He growled once, warning, and Connor saw them. Not 6 hostiles, 12. Armed, spreading out, surrounding. "Run," Connor said. They ran. Through graves, around monuments. Behind them, shouts, gunfire suppressed but present. Stone chipping, grass exploding, people screaming. The funeral dissolving into chaos. Mackenzie returned fire, dropping 1 hostile. Jason appeared from nowhere, taking down 2 more with precision that spoke of years doing exactly this. Holloway, hands still cuffed, tackled a 4th, using his body as a weapon since he had no other. "The car!" Jason shouted. "Northeast corner!" They ran. Connor's lungs burning. Mackenzie stumbling, catching herself. Havoc keeping pace despite exhaustion. The car was there, Jason's backup plan, engine running, doors open. They piled in. Jason hit the accelerator before doors closed, tires screaming, bullets punching through metal, the rear window exploding. Mackenzie cried out, blood on her shoulder. Not deep, just a graze, but blood nonetheless.
"I'm okay," she gasped before Connor could ask. Keep driving! Jason drove like a man possessed, through cemetery roads, onto highways, into traffic that provided cover. Behind them, pursuit vehicles, 3 black SUVs. Professional, coordinated. We need to lose them, Holloway said. Working on it.
Jason cut across lanes, forced cars aside, ran red lights. The SUVs kept pace. Connor checked the case, made sure it was intact. Inside, a thumb drive, smaller than his pinky finger, holding evidence that could bring down a conspiracy spanning a decade. Where do we go? Mackenzie asked, pressing cloth to her wound. Somewhere public, somewhere they can't kill us without witnesses. Connor's mind raced. Jason, can you get us to a news station? Which one? Doesn't matter, whoever's closest. You're going to broadcast it. Live, on air. Can't be buried if it's already public. Jason grinned, feral and sharp. NBC's 10 minutes away. Make it 5. They pushed through traffic. The SUVs closed in, bracketing, preparing for a termination maneuver. Connor saw it coming seconds before it happened. Brace! Impact from the left. Jason fighting for control. The car spinning, tires losing grip. They hit a barrier, metal screaming, airbags deployed. The world went white and loud and violent. When Connor's vision cleared, they were stopped, sideways across 3 lanes, traffic backing up, the SUVs boxing them in. Doors opened, men emerged, weapons raised. Tactical gear, professional killers about to finish the job. Then sirens, dozens of them. Police cruisers appearing from everywhere, surrounding the SUVs. Megaphones demanding surrender. Drop your weapons! Hands where we can see them! Connor looked at Jason. You called the cops? Figured we'd need backup. Made an anonymous tip about armed men at Arlington. Gave descriptions, license plates. They've been tracking those SUVs for the last 6 minutes. The hostiles hesitated, trapped between mission and survival. Police closing in. Nowhere to run. They dropped their weapons, hands up. Defeated. Connor grabbed the case, kicked open his door. Mackenzie followed, havoc at her heels. Police were shouting at them too, but Connor raised the case, shouted louder. Evidence! Federal case. We need witness protection right now. A detective approached, weapon drawn but pointed down. Who are you? Lieutenant Connor Vale, Navy SEAL. This woman is Mackenzie Torres, federal witness. We have evidence of conspiracy involving active duty military and government officials. We need secure transports to NBC News. Now. Sir, you need to. People are dying. Right now. While we stand here. Please. Connor's voice cracked. Please help us. Something in the detective's face changed. Get in my car, both of you. They transferred quickly. The detective, his nameplate read Martinez, drove with lights and sirens, made phone calls, coordinated with someone higher up the chain. You better be legit, Martinez said, because if you're not, I just threw away my career. I'm legit, and you just saved lives. They reached NBC in 8 minutes. Martinez called ahead. By the time they arrived, security was waiting. Producers, legal team. Someone who looked important in an expensive suit. You have evidence? The suit asked. Connor held up the drive. Everything. Names, dates, operations, weapons trafficking, murder, conspiracy reaching to the United States Senate. I want it broadcast, tonight, on every channel you can reach. We need to verify. No time. They're coming. More of them, better armed. You verify after it's public. Right now, we broadcast or we die. The suit looked at Martinez. Martinez nodded once. Get them to Studio B. Prep for live breaking news. 5 minutes. They moved like a hurricane. through corridors, into makeup rooms, onto a set where bright lights hurt Connor's eyes. An anchor, someone Connor vaguely recognized from news coverage, sat across from them. "We're going live in 60 seconds. Tell me what you want to say." Connor opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Mackenzie. "You tell it," he said. "Your mother started this. You finish it." Mackenzie's eyes widened. "Connor, you're the one who never quit, who spent 3 years chasing truth everyone said didn't exist. This is yours." The anchor counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2. Red light. Live broadcast. "Good evening. We are interrupting regular programming with breaking news. I'm joined by Mackenzie Torres, park ranger and federal witness, who claims to have evidence of conspiracy involving United States military and government officials. Ms. Torres?" Mackenzie looked directly at the camera, blood still on her shoulder, exhaustion in her eyes, but her voice was steel. "My name is Mackenzie Torres. 3 years ago, my mother, Sarah Torres, was murdered. The official report said car accident. That was a lie. She was killed because she discovered weapons trafficking operation run by defense contractors and military officers. Tonight, I'm releasing evidence that proves it. Evidence that also proves the deaths of Navy SEAL Team 5 in Syria were not combat casualties. They were assassinated by their own command." She held up the drive. "This contains everything. Names, dates, financial records, communications. It proves that Major David Garrett, Senator Richard Hale, and 14 others have been running weapons to conflict zones, selling them to highest bidders, and killing anyone who discovered their operation. My mother, Lieutenant Vale's team, Commander William Cross, dozens more." The anchor looked stunned. "These are serious accusations." "They're not accusations. They're facts. And I'm uploading everything to the internet right now. Everyone watching can verify independently, can see the truth." She plugged the drive into the laptop the producer had provided, started uploading files. The anchor's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, then didn't stop. We're getting reports of federal agents surrounding Arlington National Cemetery, of arrests being made, at the Pentagon, at..." The anchor stopped. "Senator Hale's office is calling, demanding we stop this broadcast." "Don't," Connor said. "The moment you do, we're dead. Everyone who knows is dead. Let it play out." The broadcast continued. Files uploading, evidence spreading across the internet, faster than anyone could stop it, viral in minutes. Connor's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. "Vale?" Senator Hale's voice was cold fury. "You've made a grave mistake." "No, I kept a promise. To 5 men who deserved better. You've destroyed everything. Compromised operations, exposed assets, gotten people killed." "You got people killed. I just made sure everyone knew about it." "This isn't over." "Yes, it is." Connor's voice was final. "You're done. Garrett's done. Everyone in your network is done. And my team finally gets the truth." He hung up, looked at Mackenzie. She was crying, quietly, tears cutting tracks through blood and dirt. "Is it over?" she whispered. "Yeah, it's over." The anchor was reading from her phone. "We're getting confirmations of arrests, multiple locations. Major David Garrett taken into custody at Arlington National Cemetery. Senator Hale, Senator Richard Hale, has just been arrested on the Senate floor. I've never seen anything like this." The suits were having a meltdown. Legal was screaming, producers were shouting, but the broadcast continued because turning it off now would be admitting guilt. Jason appeared in the doorway, Holloway behind him. Both looked shell-shocked.
It worked, Jason said. Holy hell, it actually worked.
Holloway collapsed into a chair.
I helped kill Mitchell. And now, because of that drive, I helped expose the people who ordered it. Does that make us even?
No, Connor said quietly. But it's a start. Federal agents arrived 20 minutes later. Real ones, not corrupt. Connor could tell by how they moved. Professional, but not predatory. They secured the studio, took statements, placed everyone under protective custody. A woman in FBI jacket approached Connor.
Lieutenant Vale? I'm Special Agent Chen, Tyler Chen's sister.
Connor's breath stopped.
He talked about you. Said you were a pain in his ass, yeah.
Her eyes were wet.
He also said you were the best operator he ever served with. That if anything happened to him, I should trust you. I didn't save him. No, but you got him justice. That's what he would have wanted.
She looked at Mackenzie.
Both of you. What you did tonight, it's going to echo for years. Trials, reforms, accountability. You started something that can't be stopped.
The trials took 18 months. Connor and Mackenzie testified at all of them. Garrett got life in federal prison. Senator Hale got the same. 14 others were convicted. Vasquez turned state's evidence, got 20 years. Connor's team was posthumously awarded medals for heroism. Their names cleared, their service honored. Emma Mitchell was 10 when she learned the truth about her father's death. Connor was there when they told her, held her while she cried, promised her daddy would never be forgotten. Sarah Torres was exonerated, awarded a civilian medal for courage. Mackenzie accepted it at a ceremony that felt both hollow and necessary. The Navy offered Connor reinstatement. He declined. Some things, once broken, couldn't be rebuilt. He took honorable discharge with full benefits, took the nightmares and the guilt, and learned to carry them differently. Mackenzie returned to Park Service, but not as a ranger, as a trainer, teaching wilderness survival and threat detection to new recruits, using everything she'd learned to help others stay alive. They bought land together in Montana, 40 acres with a cabin and room for dogs. Havoc adjusted to retirement better than either of them. He trained young canines, teaching them what 3 legs and a big heart could accomplish. On the anniversary of Syria, Connor visited Arlington. Section 60. His team's graves. He stood there with Mackenzie beside him, Havoc at their feet. I kept my promise, he said to the stones. Took me 2 years. Cost everything. But I kept it. Mackenzie's hand found his. They know. Wherever they are. They know. You think so? I know so. Because I know my mom knows. I can feel it. They stood in silence as the sun set over white headstones in perfect rows. All the names. All the lives. All the promises kept, and broken, and redeemed. What now? Connor asked. Now we live. For them. For us. For everyone who didn't get to. That simple? That hard? Mackenzie smiled, sad but real. But we do it together. Connor looked at her. This woman he'd found dying in a blizzard, who'd refused to quit when quitting was easier, who'd trusted him when trust was dangerous, who'd become family when family was a concept he'd thought he'd lost forever. Yeah, he said. Together, Havoc barked once. Agreement, or impatience, or maybe just joy at being alive in the fading light. They walked back to the truck. Behind them, the cemetery settled into quiet. The names remained. The stones stood sentinel. And somewhere in that silence, 5 men and 1 brave woman finally rested, knowing the truth had survived when they couldn't. The weight didn't disappear. Grief never does. But it changed shape, became something that pushed Connor and Mackenzie forward instead of holding them back. They'd learned that survival wasn't betrayal, that living well was the best way to honor the dead, that sometimes the hardest battles were fought not with weapons, but with the courage to keep believing truth mattered, even when the world said otherwise. 2 years after the trials ended, they opened a program for veterans struggling with transition. Wilderness therapy combined with service dog training, teaching broken people and broken dogs that damage didn't mean useless, that scars were proof you survived, not proof you failed. Emma Mitchell volunteered there when she turned 16, working with dogs, asking Connor questions about her father, building memories from stories since she'd lost the chance to build them from experience. Holloway served his sentence quietly, wrote letters to Mitchell's widow that went unanswered, donated his military pension to the program Connor and Mackenzie built. It wasn't redemption. Nothing could redeem what he'd done. But it was accountability. And sometimes that was the best any of them could hope for. On winter nights, when the snow fell heavy and the wind cut sharp, Connor sometimes remembered the blizzard, finding Mackenzie tied to that tree, the choice between mission and person. How easy it would have been to keep walking, to let the cold finish what corruption started. He never regretted stopping, not once. Not when the nightmares came, not when the investigations dragged on, not when lawyers argued that exposing secrets did more harm than good. Because truth, messy and painful and dangerous as it was, remained worth fighting for. Because the people who died deserved to be remembered as heroes, not victims. Because Mackenzie deserved to know her mother died bravely, not foolishly. And because Connor finally understood what David Mitchell meant in that inscription. The truth will surface. It had to. Because if it didn't, then everyone who died for it died for nothing. And Connor couldn't live in a world where that was acceptable. So they survived. Together. 2 damaged people and a 3-legged dog building something good from the wreckage of something terrible. Teaching others that the darkness didn't win unless you let it. That even when the fight seemed impossible, even when the odds said quit, even when survival looked like the cruelest joke of all, you kept going. You kept believing. You kept faith that somewhere, somehow, doing the right thing mattered. And in the end, when Connor looked at the life they'd built, at the people they'd helped, at the justice they'd won, and the names they'd cleared, and the promises they'd kept, he knew without question, without doubt, without reservation, that every scar was worth it. Every nightmare earned. Every moment of pain justified by the simple fact that they'd stood up when it mattered and refused to back down. That was enough. It had to be. Because truth doesn't care about convenience. Justice doesn't wait for perfect timing. And courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to act despite it. They'd acted. They'd survived. They'd won. Not completely, not perfectly, but enough to sleep at night. Enough to face the mirror. Enough to tell Emma Mitchell her father died a hero, and mean every word. That truth, hard-earned, blood-bought, impossible and inevitable all at once, was the only victory that mattered.